This is going to be my first film study video of the week, focusing on the Ravens' 33-31 loss to the Browns. There's a long list of mistakes by the Ravens that we could list and talk about. I'll briefly list a few here, but let me explain the title of the video and what I mean by it. I'm going to focus on the late second quarter sequence of events where I feel like the Ravens' play calling and coaching decisions, and at least one of the decisions that Lamar made, caused us to lose the initiative. Instead of taking the fight to the Browns on our terms in some way, I believe this is the period in time when we started to react to them and become defensive. And I don't mean defensive from a football standpoint. I mean defensive reactionary, allowing the Browns to take the fight to us. And the Browns are certainly a very aggressive team. And in fact, I think a bad matchup for us. I'll let you guys know that up front. If we see them a third time in the playoffs, I think it'll be very interesting to see what our offensive and defensive strategy is. But nonetheless, there's a lot of things we can talk about. The defense got shredded by Deshaun Watson. The run game also got shredded by the Browns' run game shredded us, particularly out of 11 personnel. I believe in the second half at one point, Watson's 14 for 14. We did get 4 sacks on him, but there's many other times where our defensive ends are flying upfield, creating an escape lane for Watson to step up through. And I thought that happened 6 or 7 times. Too many times for us to not adjust. Our offensive line got overwhelmed completely, even before Ronnie Stanley and Kevin Zeitler went out. I thought Lamar played a very poor game. I think at times his decision-making on Sunday was erratic, but often quarterbacks are going to do those things when they're under an extreme amount of pressure. So he's certainly not the only quarterback to ever have that happen to him. He happens to be our quarterback, so we're focusing on him and there's some of the decisions. I do think there's at least 2 plays in this game where he's not going through the progressions that he's supposed to, and he's instead picking a player to focus on. I'm not sure that I'm going to show you one of those in this video. Finally, and the one that I think is the most important one, is coaching. More specifically, oblivious play calling that doesn't reflect the situation at all. And I've actually complained about this many times in other videos, and I'm sure that it's not as large of an issue for other people. So I feel like I've got to set the stage a little bit here for the film. This is late second quarter. We are now ahead 17-6. Of course, we got the 2 touchdowns early, one of them by Kyle Hamilton on defense, and then Keaton Mitchell busted the long one. We know we scored with OBJ in the second half. We also were gifted a touchdown later on when James Prochet fumbled a punt. Those things haven't happened yet. We've got 1 offensive touchdown to this point and a field goal after a drive. And when I say oblivious, I'm picking that word specifically. The Browns just went 80 yards on our defense, got a field goal to close to 17-6. We get a 16-yard completion to Zay Flowers, and that's where we're going to pick up the film. The very next play is another 1st and 10. And look, Zay Flowers was unguardable for much of Sunday's game. When we got him in some space, they could not match up with him. They're playing a lot of man-free. He to me is our guy that we've got to get the ball to more in some of these situations where they're playing a lot of man, because you can see what he can do once he gets the ball in the hand with the space that's created by the route. They literally just cannot tackle him unless he runs out of space along the sideline. We're looking at about 6 minutes left in the half here, and we're going to get Gus for 4 yards. The very next play, a physical run. Linderbaum appears to be losing the D tackles crossing his face. And I think it's Tacky 44. We played a pretty physical game. Him and Gus, huge collision right about the 43. Gus doesn't run through him, but he definitely carries him forward for about 4 yards. Sets up a 2nd and 6. Kind of knew this was coming. Well, watching the film now, kind of felt like you knew it was coming. Tight end on the same side as the running back. Happened to run this one to the field. Great effort by Isaiah Likely. Simpson is losing really badly on this pin pull pitch. Likely's got Myles Garrett to deal with here. And this is a great effort. Garrett's going to shoot upfield, and you'll see Likely dive out of here to just get enough of a piece of him to not let him stay up and pursue. I'll run it back a couple of times just so you can see the effort that Likely gives. Now, Simpson is losing badly on the front side. We're pulling Linderbaum. Bateman doesn't get a big enough piece of tacky. Justice Hill still turns it into a 4-yard gain. So we've got a 3rd and 2. We end up with a false start by Ronnie Stanley, creating this 3rd and 7. This is the play that a lot of people are talking about. Yeah, it's a miss by Lamar. It's a clear miss by him. The Browns and other teams are going to continue to play some of these man coverages. The coverage paradigm has shifted as we get to the mid or later part of the season now. People are playing man and forcing Lamar to beat them deep, and he's not doing so. He's not doing so with enough consistency that teams are avoiding those coverages. They're not giving us these throws. They're making Lamar execute them, and right now, consistently, he is not. We have some situations where he has. I'm thinking of the slot fade for a touchdown against the Bengals. That wasn't that long of a pass. It's a 17-yard touchdown pass, I think. He also hit Aguilar on a slot fade down the right sideline against the Steelers, the one that Aguilar fumbled along the right sideline. I think he hit OBJ on a beautiful 3rd down throw that was about 26 yards in length, if I remember correct. 3rd down in week 1 against the Texans. But increasingly, as the season's gone on, these are throws that we've missed. So we end up lining up in a punt formation late in the second quarter. About 4.5 minutes left. Cleveland, just an unconscionable mistake by them. Hands us a golden opportunity, a 4th and 2, having too many men on the field. And a 4th and 2, we go throw the ball here, and we get sacked. Okay, fine. Lamar and Keaton Mitchell have sussed out the coverage. We know what it is. It's man, because JOK followed him. You kind of knew it was man anyway. Delpit is over here to Andrew's side, where he always is, to the tight end side when they're playing man free. You got a couple of holds here. You got 2 holds on one guy on the same play. Andrews is being held, or at least he's trying to. Lamar ends up getting sacked. Maybe late you could say, hey, he's got Bateman in the middle of the field, but there's a lot of pressure on him, number one. He's already looked at Bateman earlier in the play. Now he's looking at Mitchell and or Bateman. Sees that they're not, neither one of them is open or available for him for right now. I think really what he's checking is the wheel to see if JOK got picked there. So I'm not sure that he's really looking at Bateman, because if he was, Bateman's available right now, but Andrews' route's bringing him into him. We run that constantly with the snag. We're running snag wheel now. Fortunate to get the penalty on the Browns. And look, the Browns did hold for a lot of the game when they played man. There's just no doubt about it. That's not an insult towards the Browns if you're a Browns fan and you're checking this video out. It's just reality. And there's a lot of teams that do that. So gives us a new set of downs. We're now looking at 4.5 minutes left in the second quarter, up 17-6. And we run the ball again for Gus. This is a beautiful run by him. I'll give you the downfield angle from behind the Ravens offense. You see it's off tackle. Nobody is blocking Garrett at all. Ricard is, I don't want to say late, but I feel like he's maybe a quarter of a step behind where he should be. Ends up working out in our favor. Gus's timing is exquisite on the jump through. Gets us 6 yards. And then this is where I feel like we start to try to get pretty or do something that we're not. We're not a reverse team. We haven't been running reverses. Do we want to get the ball to Keaton Mitchell? Absolutely. Should we have gotten the ball to Keaton Mitchell more on Sunday? For sure. He should have gotten at least 6, 8, 10 touches. No problem. I got no problem with somebody complaining about that. But this, think about the last four times that we ran the football here. We got Gus for 4, Justice Hill for 4, Gus for 6, the last 3 times, on this drive. We've also been productive getting the ball to Zay Flowers, 14 yards, 16 yards on the pass play. I feel like this is high school level play calling. Sneaking in Mitchell at receiver and Flowers in the backfield. I'm shocked that the Browns, it looked to me like Delpit was trying to identify it. And lo and behold, he's the guy who makes the tackle. Right before the snap, it looks like to me he identifies that Flowers is in the backfield. So far, I haven't seen anyone other than this corner up top here say something. I don't know why you can't get this accomplished with Zay Flowers as the receiver where he normally is. He's not normally the X, so lined up at receiver, let's do it that way, and Keaton Mitchell in the backfield. As it stands, a reverse loses 7 yards, and a 2nd and 4 turns into a 3rd and 11. Now, you know what I'm going to say. Let's run the football. They just went 80 yards on our I'm talking about not just offensive awareness, complete game awareness from our coaches. These are NFL coaches who, yes, they're working. The offensive coaches are working while our defense is on the field. They certainly know that the Browns started to chew our defense up. We get the ball first to start the 3rd quarter, I believe, and we go down there and score. I want a higher level of awareness from our coaches that's going to say, let's run a typical play and absolve these guys of pass pro for at least one snap. Let's create a 3rd and 2 and run some more clock. We may not be able to run out the last 4 minutes of the half. I feel like this play call is one of the worst. I think it's on par with the 2 horrible play calls late in the 4th quarter, I believe, against the Colts, inside of our own 30-yard line, somewhere around in there. We had a sweep to Flowers that went on a 3rd and 9, and the previous play, a 2nd and 8, we went 22 jumbo personnel and tried to run the football for a 1-yard gain. I thought those 2 were the worst play calls I'd seen all year. This one takes the cake for me. We compound it on the 3rd and 11. The Browns show a big blitz and drop people out. Surprise, surprise, we give up a sack. Yeah, the pass pro was horrible. I don't know how at some point our coaches aren't identifying that we're not pass proing well. We've got to do some other things, anomalous plays, screens, whatever, to try to get the ball out of Lamar's hands. Yes, they actually knocked down 2 attempted quick screens by Lamar. When we line up to kick this field goal in a moment, which I think is a 55-yarder, we have gone backwards from their 25 to their 37. The lack of awareness by you can say, well, Coach, you're looking at this, as a Monday morning quarterback. And look, Keaton Mitchell's not doing a great job here at all. There doesn't seem to be alignment between Keaton Mitchell and what the offensive line is doing. They're overloading to our right side pre-snap, they being the Browns. So that makes sense that that's where Mitchell's going to be, because he's going to try to help out in that regard. Give the Browns credit. They drop people out. But the end man, presumably who you'd want Mitchell to pick up, because that's where he stepped initially, if you're going to let him pick that guy up, where Macari steps to him. So somewhere we're not aligned between these guys over here on the right side, how they were going to handle it if all 4 of those guys blitzed in the gaps they lined up in. As it stands, Mitchell gets into Lamar's way. Now, in my opinion, the route that OBJ's running up there, Lamar's got to throw the football. Keaton Mitchell is in the way, but based on the route that I'm seeing, and I'll go back to the All-22 in a moment, Lamar's got to throw the football. I think he's a step late. This is a designed fake by him to work a, quote, double move up the right sideline. Mitchell is in the way. I think Lamar's a half step late, and the ball's got to go out. Let me show you the route. It's up to the top here. I do like that against some of this stuff that we saw, bringing heavy pressure, playing man, we threw the ball deep. We missed Zay Flowers. You can see the fake by Lamar. OBJ's route is also maybe not timed up with Lamar's fake. The corner up there is looking at Lamar. Lamar has to throw this football. However, Keaton Mitchell's right in his lap. So it's a little bit unfair to Lamar. I don't think the play call was a good one on the last 2 plays at all. I think Todd Monken was out of his depth in this situation. We did a horrible job on the left side here. Yeah, Cleveland's overwhelming us with numbers. Absolutely. You got to step down towards the football as the guys who are lined up at guard, tackle, and tight end. I don't think we're doing a great job here at all. We give up a block. You give up a block, you didn't do your job, period. Cleveland and Falele don't look ready for prime time at all. Browns are able to get a field goal out of that situation to make it 17-9. And I don't feel like it got any better at all from here. A minute left in the quarter. Lamar scrambles and gets rocked by Ford, the corner for the Browns. Good for the corner. Good for the Browns. This is football. You're supposed to hit people. I'm not surprised that Lamar comes back on the next play and throws an interception. the questions and concerns by fans saying, hey, was Lamar out of it for a moment, whatever? And those are legitimate questions. Number one, a couple of points about that. Number one, that's the price you pay for being a running quarterback. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's the way football's been forever. Buddy Ryan's favorite saying, and one of the ones that I thought illustrated the type of person that he was as a coach was, let's find out who the second string quarterback is. If you're giving teams opportunity to hit you as a coaching staff calling run plays, now this is a scramble, or as a quarterback, then sometimes this is the price you pay. Now, I will say this. Get out of bounds. Maybe on this play, you could justify it and say, well, it's a minute left in the half. Lamar's trying to get the first down. He didn't, number one. But number two, okay, fine. I got no problem with that. Still, this is a habit. This is actually a habit where Lamar, instead of just getting out of bounds, wants to get more yards and or deliver a blow to people. He has done that in the past, and I like it. I do. But in this case, it came back to haunt him. I mean, he got rocked. I don't blame the guy at all. Should they have called a penalty? I don't care. It's football. You're supposed to hit people until the whistle blows. If they called a penalty, I wouldn't have any problem with it. Since they didn't, I still don't have a problem with it. The very next play is a terrible throw by Lamar. Was he feeling the effects of that previous play? Probably. And I offer to you as a coach, as a person who's coached and you have to make those decisions, maybe our offensive coordinator should have had some awareness of that. And I feel like at times we show an extremely low level of awareness in our play calling as it pertains to Lamar. I'm not absolving him of responsibility on this interception. It's a horrible throw. It's one of the worst throws I've seen in the NFL since I've been trying to evaluate it as a content creator. It's terrible. There is zero justification for it. That ball's underthrown by 8 or 9 yards. Having said that, it's 2nd and 1, a minute left in the half. He's been sacked twice on the previous possession when we're dropping back to throw the ball. It's a different area of the field. In this case, the Browns only bring 4, and he actually gets a clean pocket. Blame Lamar for the interception, no problem. It's 2nd and 1, a minute left in the half. I believe we have 1 timeout left. Let's get a first down. I don't feel like our play calling reflects situations. I have a little bit of experience in looking at play call sheets. Certainly nothing like Todd Monken's or anybody at the NFL or Division I level. But I've seen play call sheets in game, high school and college guys, and then I've had guys give me play call sheets during meetings so I could look at them and see how they had things organized because I was trying to learn things myself. To me, it looks like Todd Monken has his play call sheet based on the area of the field, the down and distance, and maybe the time remaining in the half, and just calls it with no awareness of the game situation. And that kind of fits right in with our MO as Ravens coaching staff, if you ask me, in the last 2 or 3 years. Thankfully, this Hail Mary, the Browns didn't get an opportunity to catch the ball. Unfortunately, Geno Stone has an amazing opportunity at an interception. I guess you could say Kyle Hamilton does as well. With no one near him, you'd love to see one of our guys catch that football with a running start. I guess we can't give Kyle Hamilton credit for a pass defense. To look, if this video is overly negative, I'm coming at it from this standpoint. Those are NFL coaches who get 7 days a week to go into the office and work their ass off as long as they want to. Some work harder than others. I have no idea the hours that our guys put in. The output right now in high leverage situations is a low level of awareness for an NFL coaching staff, in my opinion, on the offensive side. And I'm talking about Todd Monken. Conversely, the decision-making by Lamar, if you ask me, even on some of the designed plays, is extremely inconsistent. And when you combine those two things with the other factors I mentioned in the beginning, our defense being really poor against 11 personnel, our propensity to turn the ball over at the worst times, even though the last interception, the pick six, was clearly an anomaly. 54, you got to give him credit for a great play. I think this is the moment where we let what should have been a 20-6 game at the half become a 17-9 game at the half, and things look rattled. Things look unsettled in that last 4 or 5 minutes, and I think a lot of that comes back to coaching. I already talked about Lamar's mistake on the throw, and another one where I feel like he could have, got the ball out earlier. But for me and my background and my experience as a coach, you have to take ultimate responsibility for what happens with your team on the field. And sometimes you have to do that even if it's not your fault. On Sunday, I think a lot of what we saw in the second half was related to and almost like a snowball effect for these last 5 or 6 minutes in the second quarter. You're welcome to let me know if you disagree. I got no problem with that in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the video, the way I broke down the plays, and my general premise that this seems to be a weakness of Todd Monken's offensive play calling is a lack of awareness to game situation, and I tried to illustrate that to you tonight. Appreciate you guys' time.